Meren of Clan Toth versus Ezuri, Claw of Progress. Don't see many Ezuri decks. We're going to keep this because we have 3 lands and a life from the loam. I don't think Skull Clamp is going to be too much use to us in the early game, but we'll see. We'll see what we draw into. Obviously, we are on the play, so we're not going to draw anything yet. Just waiting for our opponent to decide whether or not they're going to mulligan to 6. Ezuri, Claw of Progress is a 3/3 elf warrior in Simic, and whenever a creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, you get an XP counter, so another experience counter commander. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put X+1/+1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is the number of XP counters you have. Opponent taking a very long time to decide whether or not they want to mulligan. I'll give them a little bit more time, and then failing that I will scratch this recording. Alright, our opponent about 2 minutes, 3 minutes in decided to finally show up, so we will go for the swamp on turn 1, and after all that I've actually only just realised that we don't have green for life from the loam. I always just assume Reflecting Pool is a command tower effectively, because it usually is, but on turn 1 with no green source, which now we actually have with the Dryad Arbor, so that saves us. We can go for a life from the loam next turn. Don't want to play out the Skull Clamp when there's nothing to equip it to, because it is just going to die to removal, especially against green. Lightning Greaves for our opponent. And instead of life from the loam, we're going to go for the ramp here in Wood Elves. Probably just go for an Overgrown Tomb here, seeing as how there's nothing else we can do, or nothing else we want to do. And pass over to our opponent. We actually now have a Skull Clamp target, but I think we'll get Meren out first. Yeah, just to get the triggers on there. Or do we want to try and lure out a counter spell of some form? I think we do. I think we want to try and get a counter spell here. We'll refill our hand. And what we could actually do is we could actually kill the Dryad Arbor here. No, I think we'll just hold up Croson Grip. I don't care too much about life from the loam yet, because we don't have any lands in play. Of course, life from the loam is a means of getting things into the graveyard. But I assume if they had a counterspell in hand, they would have countered the Skull Clamp, because it's such good recursion with regards to card draw and death triggers and everything that Meren wants to do. So we'll go for Meren next turn. I assume we're going to see an Ezuri, Claw of Progress here, so we'll go for Croson Grip on the Lightning Greaves and keep haste off of Ezuri. And that gives way for Meren to get down this turn, assuming that there's no days or anything like that. And then I think what we'll do is get down the forest and kill the Dryad Arbor, because we will get that back at the end of this turn. Alright, so full grip of cards in hand. We get Dryad Arbor back, always yield to that. And pass the turn to our opponent. So Ezuri, Claw of Progress, I think I've already been through it, but it basically, every time you cast a... Oh, it's not when you cast, it's when a creature with power 2 or less enters, you get an experience counter, so Avenger of Zendikar would be great in this. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, you put X +1/+1 counters on another target creature you control, where X is the number of XP counters you have. And our opponent using Gigantoplasm to copy Meren. Not really sure. That's probably just a blocker. Not sure that they really care about getting many things into the graveyard. We can go for 3, 6, 7 mana we have. Yeah, we can go for a Grave Titan here, I don't mind that. There isn't one bit of me that minds that. I imagine our opponent is cursing that they didn't hold off on the Gigantoplasm there. And we will actually kill off the Dryad Arbor again. And just get it back again at the end of the turn. Okay, drawing into reoccurring nightmare there, or recurring nightmare, is not terrible. Because at the end of this turn we are going to have to discard something. I think we'll go for Avenger of Zendikar. So next turn we can play Recurring Nightmare and get back the Avenger of Zendikar. For those of you who don't know, Recurring Nightmare is an enchantment, and you play it out and you sacrifice a creature, return Recurring Nightmare to its owner's hand in order to activate the ability of return a target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You can only do that as a sorcery, or at sorcery speed. So we'll probably just equip up one of the zombies with Skull Clamp and then kill it to Recurring Nightmare. Our opponent getting back the Lightning Greaves with E-Whip. Not sure who they want to equip up with that. We're always going to yield to the Ezuri, the Ezuri, enter the battlefield trigger. Lightning Greaves coming out. I imagine it'll just be protecting Ezuri, which is fine because we do have targeted removal in this deck. And a +1/+1 counter on each green creature will always yield to that. I don't think we're ever going to want to react to that. At the beginning of combat, our opponent is going to load up a creature. We'll always yield to that also. And onto our turn. So crop rotation is, yeah, not something I care about, to be honest. I'll get out this Phyrexian Tower just in case we want to react to anything. We will equip Zombie with a Skull Clamp, and then Reoccurring Nightmare even. And then get back Avenger of Zendikar. Should have held back on playing the Phyrexian Tower, but not to worry. We can get back the Wood Elves at the end of the turn with Meren. And, well, we could even do it now. But we'll do it at the end of the turn with Meren and get back... Actually thinking about it. Yeah, we'll go for the Recurring Nightmare now. We'll kill a plant token to get back a Wood Elves. A land will come into play, and that will buff all our plant tokens thanks to the Avenger of Zendikar. Going to always yes and always yield. And now we have 2 mana we can put onto the Wood Elves, the Skull Clamp onto the Wood Elves, draw more cards. And I think we'll swing in with Grave Titan, because if it dies, not only do we get a couple of card draws, but we also get to play it back out with Meren at the end of the turn. So I'll be intrigued to see if our opponent notices that. or if they just chump. Yeah, okay, just chumping. That probably is what they should do. Now our opponent gets Eternal Witness back at the end of their turn, thanks to Meren. So we could really do with getting rid of that, to be honest. But as for now, that is the end of our turn. We get back Wood Elves at the end of the turn and buff up the plants even more. And now we get to hold up a crop rotation. I don't think there's anything of particular value that I care about in our deck that we would care about getting with crop rotation. We'll ditch the Bane of Progress because there aren't a load of artifacts or enchantments on the field that we care about getting rid of on our opponent's side, and it would kill our Skull Clamp as well. Our opponent is paying costs before they've even tapped mana, so not sure what they're going for here. Okay, Clever Impersonator. So it looks like this might be some kind of clone deck. So Avenger of Zendikar, I assume they're going for. Yep, an Avenger of Zendikar. We do have this Decree of Pain, so we could really punish our opponent for. We could not only get all the experience counters that we'll ever need for the rest of this game off the Decree of Pain, but we'll draw a boatload of cards in the process as well. So swing through with everything on our turn, I think, seeing as how everything is going to die anyway. And then wipe the board. I think that's the game plan. Our opponent has 3 cards in hand, including a single blue, so they may well be able to counter it. This is an interesting take on Ezuri, if it is a clone deck, because it is basically as good as your opponent's deck is. And if we're playing big expensive creatures, then they get to play said big expensive creatures as well, assuming that we don't have Hexproof or Shroud on anything. And our opponent gets back Eternal Witness. Our opponent's Meren doing some good work there. And it can just get back the Misty Rainforest and give our opponent another experience counter. Not bad. I'm going to crop rotate here and see if we can grab anything of relevance. I don't think so. We can get... There's no temple. We do have an ancient tomb. We should probably put Temple of the False God in here. I do need to rework the mana here a little bit. I'll get Urborg just in case we draw into a Cabal Coffers. Swap out a Swamp for an Urborg isn't terrible. And do we want to Life from the Loam? No, I don't think so. We're going to draw a boatload of cards anyway. So, just to keep the trigger off the stack, I will end up getting Life from the Loam back at some point. But as for now, I think... I don't know if I swing in or not, just in case. I think I just want to try and Decree of Pain and hope that they don't counter it, and then if they do, at least I haven't swung in and tapped a load of creatures for no good reason. So we'll kill one of these zombies with the Phyrexian Tower, and then it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 more mana. We'll do the Dryad Arbor, seeing as it's going to die anyway, hopefully. And hopefully we'll draw a lot of cards. We're on 6 cards in hand currently. I haven't bothered to count all the creatures that are in play. We'll take Life from the Loam just so we don't have to answer to that trigger every time we draw something. And we just drew into, what is that, 24 cards. So that's something. And another 2. So that's, yeah, that's 24 cards and another 2 from the Skull Clamp. So now we have a lot of cards in hand. I don't even know if we have a Reliquary Tower in this deck, although we probably should if we can do things like this. Well, there we go, we can certainly get a Mana Crypt out. We can get Cabal Coffers because we got the Urborg before. And I think, let's see how much mana we get here. I think we just play the Wormcoil Engine and maybe get out our commander again. Tap for green. And one more. And we'll get the Skull Clamp on the Wormcoil Engine just in case our opponent has an answer for that. And we'll pass the turn to our opponent. And we can get back anything we want from the graveyard now, so I think we'll go for Grave Titan. I like the 6/6 Death Touch. Avenger of Zendikar is only a 5/5. It does get us way more tokens, and they will incrementally get even bigger than 2/2 zombies will. But I like the 6/6 Death Touch on Grave Titan. Alright, I have no idea how we're going to work this out. We'll just discard all the lands first, apart from the important ones. Hopefully our opponent doesn't exile our graveyard. Recurring Nightmare, yeah. We can, I think, to be honest, we can just get rid of most of these creatures. We can get rid of Life from the Loam. Don't care about you. Don't care about Entomb, I don't think. Voltic Druid, Rex Sage. Spawning Pit? No, I don't care about Spawning Pit. Newsguard Demon, I don't care about. We have 2 tutors in hand. Board Wipe I'd like to keep. Nissa we can get back. And Damnation, we have a Toxic in hand, so. Alright, we have loaded up our graveyard. In fact, why don't I pull out the graveyard so we can actually look at it. And interesting to see what our opponent has now. They have nearly just as much of, and they have their own Avenger of Zendikar. Very good. Yeah, I think we could go for an Eternal Witness and get back the Decree of Pain, which would mean we put a stop on our upkeep and play the Demonic Tutor next turn, and that will get rid of the plant tokens. And no, it won't, because they are now going to have 3 toughness. So what we'll instead have to do is rely on Toxic Deluge. So we'll keep hold of the Vampiric Tutor for now, because I don't think there's anything in particular that we want. See if we get bolted off the Mana Crypt. Neither of us has dealt much damage to us so far. This game is a good back and forth. We will not take life from the loam. I want to draw into something else. Okay, we get a land. See how much mana we have off the Cabal Coffers. Okay, 10 mana. Don't think we need as much as 10 mana. We'll just tap it the old-fashioned way. Go for 3. This will kill our zombie tokens and our opponent's plant tokens, even if they crack the Misty. And we get even more death triggers, which are now largely pointless. We will play High Market just in case we want to sack a creature. And we'll swing in with Grave Titan and Wormcoil Engine. Our opponent can block the Wormcoil Engine with the Avenger of Zendikar, but I don't really care about that, to be honest. Not going to swing in with Meren. And we will of course get 2 zombies off the Grave Titan trigger. I think I'll Maelstrom Pulse the Lightning Greaves, because I don't like the idea of our opponents having haste available to them. You never know if you're going to get into some infect shenanigans or something like that, or some big trampling effects. And then we should probably do something with Recurring Nightmare as well. What do we want with that though? Probably just... we have Woodfall Primus. Probably just Avenger again, to be honest. We'll go for Recurring Nightmare. We can actually cast this a few times if we want to. Go after the Avenger of Zendikar. We'll kill the Wormcoil Engine in order to do it. And then we can cast the Recurring Nightmare again. And get back the Wormcoil Engine. Get back life from the loam just to keep that trigger from recurring all the time. Get a load of plant tokens. And then cast Recurring Insight again. Recurring Nightmare, not Recurring Insight. I keep calling it that. I assume there's a card called Recurring Insight. Where are we? Wormcoil Engine. We'll kill a plant token. Get back the Wormcoil. And then play out the Recurring Nightmare, not Insight. And go for... what do we want? We could go for Merciless Executioner. Actually, I don't mind, just in case they clone the Meren, I don't mind keeping the Avenger of Zendikar on the field so that it doesn't... if they clone the Meren, then at the end of the turn they'll get Avenger of Zendikar back into our opponent's hand, and we don't want that. I'm going to get a forest with the Nissa, Vastwood Seer. And I think just one more Recurring Nightmare ought to do it. We will get back a... what do we want? Oracle of Muldiah. That way we can play another land, which will mean... yeah, we're going to do the Recurring Insight one more time, just to get back the Avenger of Zendikar and get some plants into play. We'll ditch a zombie. And we'll crack a fetch just to get 2 lands into play and get the plant tokens even more stronger than they would be with just one land drop. Failing that, we actually don't have any more lands to search for, so top of our library is going all funky there. But Mesmeric Orb on top is great, although we might be drawing into too many cards here. Draw with Nissa and pass the turn to our opponent, who has been a great sport about all this. Unless, of course, they actually have an answer to everything. Maybe they have a Cyclonic Rift or something like that. We'll get back Eternal Witness with the Runescarred Demon because we don't know what we're going to draw into and what we're going to need. So, don't think we need Song of the Dryads. Yeah, don't know what we're going to need, so we're just gone for an Eternal Witness there, and anything we do need we can hopefully grab out of our graveyard, including instants and sorceries which Meren can't get back. We might be seeing some kind of exile effect. I know that blue has Curse of the Swine, I think it's called, that I like to run. Always yield to that, it's irrelevant. Yeah, so we could still see some exile effects, but it looks like we're going to be able to draw the game to a close next turn unless we see some kind of mass bounce, which isn't beyond the realms in a blue deck. Okay, Genesis Wave for 5. Let's see what our opponent gets off this. This is a fun game. And our opponent whiffs on that. That's the Birthing Pod is nice. But Sakura Tribelder and taking Mana Drain and Greensun Zenith off the top of your library doesn't feel good. But Birthing Pod killing the Avenger of Zendikar, that could get something relevant. Birthing Pod, for those who don't know, is 2 and tap, sack a creature, search your library for a creature card with CMC equal to 1, plus the sacrifice creature's power, plus the sacrifice creature's converted mana cost, that is. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. You can only do it as a sorcery, and it looks like that's exactly what our opponent's doing, so maybe something like a Vorinclex or something like that. No, a Craterhoof Behemoth. So it's a good job that we got rid of our opponent's plant tokens there. Our opponent just having fun with us here by the looks of it. We will block with Wormcoil Engine and our opponent's scoops, yeah. So, had we not have gotten rid of our opponent's Avenger of Zendikar plant tokens there, we certainly would have lost the next turn, so it's a good job we did that. Great game, a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Please consider subscribing and liking to help progress and grow the channel, as I've only just started it literally a few weeks ago at this point. So, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.